All right, everybody. So our first review of the day is going to be for the Akira Kurosawa film High and Low. High and Low here is a movie here that came out in 1963 from the iconic director there, Kurosawa, who's made such films as Seven Samurai. There, he's considered one of the best filmmakers, not only in Japan but just in general in all of filmmaking. There, a lot of legendary directors today look up to him. People like Martin Scorsese cite his work as being a huge influence on him. Um, Very, very iconic guy there. And this is my very first Kurosawa film there. I know he's has a lot of legendary films in his catalog, but this was a great time to watch it. Since Spike Lee is doing a kind of a reimagining interpretation of his film, it's called Highest to Lowest that Spike Lee is doing. It is the fourth collaboration between Spike Lee and Denzel Washington. So that seemed like a good time to review High and Low here. And also, since it is May, it is AAPI month, with his Asian American Pacific Islander month here. Seemed like a good time to also revisit this film. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Highest to Lowest there. Spike Lee, Denzel Washington, iconic team up as always there. So I'm really, really looking forward to this. Great cast. Denzel Washington, you have here Jeffrey Wright, ASAP Rocky. Also, Ice Spice is going to make an appearance there if you're an Ice Spice fan there. If you're a Munchkin, are you a Munchkin, Neil?
I do not know what a munchkin is, to be honest.
But yeah, that's her fan base. The Munchkins, I think, as they're called there.
Unfortunately, no, but I hope she does well in the movie.
Well, thank you. I think she appreciates that support there, Neil. Nice guy, man.
And the thing is, I only found out about this remake that Spike Lee is doing like a week or two ago, and I'm very intrigued by it, to be honest. I think Spike Lee is such a interesting filmmaker, and he's got a lot of really interesting visual panaches he can do, and I really look forward to seeing what he does with this with this remake. It'll be fascinating to watch.
Yes, me as well. And I hope it turns out better than his remake of Old Boy. I hope it turns
Oh
out better.
boy. Oh
Yeah,
boy, we don't talk about Old Boy in this house. The Spike
yeah.
Lee movie.
That's a good letterbox review. Old Boy. We don't talk about Old Boy. That's a good letterbox review right there. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So I completely blank Old Boy from my memory of the Spike out of the Spike Lee catalog there of his films. But what is High and Low all about? Well, it's a procedural crime drama film here, and it involves this kidnapper who kidnapped a child there. At first, the kidnapper thinks he kidnapped the child of this very wealthy Japanese executive businessman who works for a national shoe company. He works designing women's shoes there initially. So he first thinks he kidnapped his son, but he accidentally kidnaps the son of his chauffeur. And then once he realizes that mistake, the kidnapper, he goes like, "Well, bitch, you still paying this money. I don't care which kid I kidnapped. You paying this 30 million yen, and you'll do it, or else I'll kill the child there." So it's kind of this unraveling story of, can they get the child back? Is Mr. Gordo is Gordon Godon is the Japanese businessman there, and it's all about like, is he going to pay the money? Are they going to get the child back? Can they catch this kidnapper there as well? So it's this kind of really procedural crime film, and how everything kind of unravels of this mystery of who is the kidnapper and all those details, which was really good. And so I'll get you pass around, get your thoughts on this. Neil, what are your thoughts here on High and Low?
Well, what's really interesting about this movie, just from a historical context, is that this is one of the very first police procedural movies that was ever made. As far as like, the concept of following the crime through its solving through and seeing the perspective from the police, the victims, and the perpetrator. So it's really interesting from a historical context. But I actually saw this movie for the first time a couple months ago, and I absolutely love this movie. It's a movie that's about divisions in all aspects of society, the high and low divisions of the rich and the poor, the divisions between citizens and the police, the divisions between the haves and the have-nots, divisions of light and dark, the divisions of just all aspects of society, and it really does a fascinating job of inspecting all these aspects and how they are all ultimately tied to this crime, this kidnapping.
Mm, yes. And the tension of this movie is amazing. The first hour of this movie just takes place in one location, and that is the condo that he lives in with his family. And that's basically where the first hour of the movie takes place in. And just like the tension of the kidnapper calling and then asking for the demands. Then the police show up, which is also really great. Just the cast of characters when also the police didn't show up. I really also really like the inspector character. I thought he was really great in his performance of kind of how kind of measured he was, how kind of cool he was, almost very in a nonchalant way. I thought that was very impressive there. So I really loved a lot of that, and just the use of also this movie is I really was reading about it. The use of blocking in this movie can also be studied in film school as well. What Kurosawa does there, but yeah, just you have these, just all that tension there built up in the first hour of it, and it's not until after that hour they actually go to some other different locations where he actually tries to deliver the money. Um, so I thought that was incredibly impressive there as well. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned this is like one of the very first police procedurals ever made there with this, and it what it kind of does with it. I mean, you've seen kind of situations in movies like this before many times, kidnapper situations. That kind of happen in many movies and shows. But I think it's all about the execution and how you do it in the way it's kind of shown there, and I think it is shown masterfully here. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think just the execution of all aspects of this are just masterful. Like you said, the acting is all terrific. The businessman is played by Toshiro Mifune, who was a frequent collaborator of Kurosawa, and he gives one of his best performances in this movie. And you are right that the tension is just built perfectly through this first half, where the police are trying to figure out what this crime even is and how to even and the victims are trying to figure out how to respond to it. But yeah, the I just love how everything is built on top of each other. This movie, and what starts out as a simple premise where you build these characters up, and then you increasingly put tension and just more wrinkles to the story to make you and them think more to think more about what is going on and why it is going on. It's really masterful in how it builds on top of the stuff that comes before it.
Mm, yeah, and when they get into the investigation part of looking for the kidnapper, that's also very interesting. How they kind of narrow in on who it could be, the detective work there, like that's all very interesting. That keeps you engaged throughout the story. When they end up finding who the person is, and trying to hunt them down and follow them, I think that's all really good. And how they kind of piece together of the puzzle, like the littlest details can lead to a person getting caught. And you see a lot of times of, in like true crime stuff, you watch a lot of that stuff. If you do that, how like those little mistakes can all add up and kind of can get you caught. So I thought that was kind of really great there. You gonna say something?
I really love like just all the how much the little details add up over time, because like even in the first half, you see seeds planted about how they'll ultimately prosecute the crime. Like just no spoiler or anything like that, but there's a something with the briefcase that comes back into play later on that you might not even thought about until later, and then you realize, oh, that's why they mentioned this thing about the briefcase, because it'll add up to help solve this crime. And little details like that throughout the entire movie just continually build up and just really make this a great mystery just to follow from start to finish.
Yeah. And how they kinda work of like, well, and to also they wanna charge this person with the maximum amount of time they can. So they kinda wait. There's like, "Okay, we can get them now, but we wanna wait until, we make sure that, if they do a certain thing, then we can really get them and really hem them up on a larger charge." So you also have that kinda get on there. And just also the morality of this story as well. You have this kind of business guy there who, if he gives all this money, that puts him in jeopardy of losing his position at his company there. And he has that kind of weighing on him, and then he has the power to save this kid's life, and it's not his kid, and he's like, I don't know if I really want to do this or not. And if I do this, it's going to put obviously my family in jeopardy, my wife, my livelihood. Do I even do that? And he kind of struggles with that, and you see that throughout it, which I was thought was very good. And even though later on in the movie, he makes a decision and has this big you see this big kind of public, reaction to his decision and what he does, and but at the end, it kinda plays with, was it the right thing or wasn't it the right thing to do at the end of the day? What did you think about that element of the movie?
I thought just all the character work was really interesting, and I loved seeing just the consequences for everyone's actions. Like you said, when he ultimately makes the decision about how to proceed with this crime, there's some fallout from it, and it's very serious and it's long lasting fallout for him, his family, and for the victim's family. And likewise, you see those consequences play out for in the second half, which is where most of the investigation happens. You see the consequences from not only the criminals' actions, but the police's actions, and it really just makes the characters and the story just feel very rich and very detailed. And part of the reason this particular movie stands out so much in a sea of other crime movies is just the little details that like make the characters who they are, make them rich, and as well as the themes of this. Ultimately, this is a very like thematically rich movie, and it's not even really until the end you kind of realize just how deep the rabbit hole goes on this, and it's just always fascinating to see how everything adds up, to the very end.
Yeah, and the ending of this is really great too, when it's like this final, a showdown between the 2 people. I think that's also really done perfectly there, and you see, kinda the larger aftermath of what's happened now after all this, and I think that scene is incredibly brilliant as well, and that's incredibly well acted, so you have that, and yeah, just like at the end of the day, why this ended up happening and why the person did what they did, and you learn the reasoning why. I'm being vague because I really want people to check this movie out, even though it's a
Right.
movie that is, over like 40 years old now. It's 50 years old as a film. And it is really great to watch there, and it still has so much to teach people even after all these years. And it being one of the very first police procedurals there, it's still kind of, you understand why it's so held in high regard even after all these years. And it goes to show the mastery of what Akira Kurosawa was able to do. And this being my first one. And how many Kurosawa films have you seen?
I've only seen three: Seven Samurai, High and Low, and then Throne of Blood. I need to see more of them, though, for sure. Okay.
Yeah. He directed 30, so directed 30 feature films he did there. And Kurosawa ended up passing away in 1998. He ended up doing that. And what do you kind of notice most about Kurosawa films there?
The thing I noticed about Kurosawa as an artist is you mentioned the blocking earlier. I definitely noticed that he has a really good eye for shot composition to highlight, not only like the scenery and like what is happening in the scene, but character motivations too. Because throughout this whole movie, you see, all the characters lit in totally different manners to reflect not only their emotional states, but their what they're thinking, how they are like perceiving the world around them, and just the crime itself. And Kurosawa, throughout his entire filmography, really does a great job of like just highlighting the characters and their emotions just through like blocking, scene lighting, and and the most important thing with Kurosawa is just the depth of the characters. Because granted, I haven't seen every Kurosawa movie in the world, but all of his characters are extremely rich and thought out, and it's really these depths and really uncommon complexity with films of this time that really make them stand the test of time ultimately. And High and Low is just another prime example of this for everyone.
Yeah, your favorite director is probably Akira Kurosawa, probably. Uh,
More than likely, yes.
yeah. So what would be your final thoughts and rating for High and Low?
I This is a masterpiece. I mean, Kurosawa has multiple masterpieces in his filmography, and this is another one. It is just a genuinely thrilling movie about not only just characters trying to navigate an impossible situation, but it's a movie about just the divisions that we don't often see or notice in the society we live in. Just without you notice it throughout the entire movie, and the entire movie is about just reconciling, how these divisions create the people who we become, and how do we reconcile that. It's a masterpiece. I give it 5 out of 5. No qualms about it.
Mm, yeah. Watching this being my first Kurosawa film, I get the hype around him. I get the hype around why he is such an icon and why he is such highly revered amongst a lot of directors there. I want to go back and check. I definitely should see more of his work there. With this, like I said, he is definitely if your favorite director there. For his stamp on the industry and like his use of you know blocking, his use of the lighting, his use of camera work, how it can be set a mood and a tone there. The great character work in this is also really amazing as well. That you have, and just to see how this kind of story unfolds there is also incredibly interesting. Like this kind of basic setup of a kidnapping and paying ransom. I mean, that's very we've seen that a lot before in movies, but it's all about the execution and how you do it and the reveal and like I said, the detective work that goes on here, these intriguing characters like the detectives when they come in and when they investigate and get assigned to the case. I think that's also really interesting there and how they each have their own, kind of dynamic, and you can tell they've been working together for so long, just in how the way they interact with each other. You can tell that just in the few scenes that they have there. Um, yeah, I mean, this was a really great watch, and I really enjoyed it a lot. And it's if you were to, because I know people sometimes talk about like with his other film Seven Samurai, the length of that film and how it is like over 3 hours there. This isn't a 3 hour film. This is only 2 hours and 20 minutes there. So if it's a shorter film than that, people worry. Sometimes people are wary of length of films there. You don't have that with this one. So yeah, I enjoyed this a lot. It is a great first impression there of Kurosawa. I think who doesn't love a good crime film? People love that type of stuff. So I would give it a high peak bordering on This Is Cinema,
Hmm.
there for this. So that's our rating system there. We do This Is Cinema, peak. So you gave it a 5 out of 5, correct?
Yeah, yeah. So if I could, my rating is cinema,
Yeah. You gotta do the pose. Yeah, absolute cinema there. You gotta do the pose.
absolute cinema. That's what this is.
Gotta do the pose there.
Yeah,
But yeah, check it out. It's on Max right now. One thing I really appreciate Max for doing is having a lot of these type of films on their streaming service, Japanese films, Criterion films on there. That's a good thing to have Max for if you are into that streaming service. So it is on there right now. But why not buy it on DVD? Why not buy the Criterion collection of it on DVD? If you
yeah. Just support good art is what I would say. Just support good art, no matter where it comes from. And you are right that Max is a great streaming service for just these classic movies because like they're important, and I think people should give them a chance. And
yeah,
yeah, they really deserve it.
yeah. So this is Cinema from Neal. And I give it a you know what, why not? Fuck it. I might as well just give it I'll give it a This Is Cinema as well for high and low. Why not? Yeah, why not
All
just
right, there you go. There you go.
so two This Is Cinemas for Akira Kurosawa's high and low there. Thank you so much, Neil.